In this Warmaster video, multiple armies clash in a grand battle with several players per side. We called it the Battle of SLAUGHTERLOO. The battlefield is 360 centimeters long by 120 centimeters wide. The terrain is a mixture of hills, woods, marshes and small farmsteads. On one side we have a coalition of Empire and Witch Hunters totaling 5,000 points, led by General Vellington. On the Empire right is a brigade of cavalry and a horde of Zealot infantry, led by their commander, William of Tangerine. On the centre right are light infantry and missile infantry brigades, with more cavalry in reserve. In the centre left, General Vellington leads another brigade of cavalry and also oversees the fearsome artillery brigades. General Vellington is known for his luck, and in this case his artillery brigade is set up directly opposite the enemy heavy cavalry. On the left flank are more brigades of light infantry and missile infantry with a flanking force of cavalry. They are also accompanied by a mercenary giant. Vellington's army's breakpoint is 28. Across the battlefield the enemy deploy 6,000 points of Chaos, Demons and Chaos Dwarfs. They are led by the bloodthirsty Chaos Dwarf General, Tornapart. On their left flank a farmstead is occupied by the Chaos Dwarf Light Infantry, flanked by their cavalry detachment. The Chaos Dwarf Heavy Infantry and Artillery set up amongst the fields, whilst legions of Demon Hordes and Chaos Warriors deploy around another farmstead, centre left. The Chaos right flank is held by a large brigade of 4 Chaos Knights, more Demon Infantry, Chaos Light Cavalry and Chariots, and Demon Chariots. Tornapart's plan is to swiftly advance on his right flank, using the superior quality of his melee troops to quickly defeat the enemy. Meanwhile, the infantry brigades of the left flank will advance at a steady pace and engage the enemy infantry. The artillery will provide covering fire whilst the light infantry advances and takes the farmsteads. The Chaos Army breakpoint is 29. In this game, the Chaos Force begins by outnumbering their opponents by a good 1,000 points. However, Vellington has sent messages to his mercenary Ogre allies, who will arrive halfway through the battle at a random point. The game begins with Vellington's mercenary giant tearing ahead of the rest of the army, and it goes crazy at the sight of the enemy troops, rushing headlong at their lines. The infantry advance cautiously in its wake. On the centre right, a mass of flagellants pour over a central hill, whilst zealots, halberdiers and bowmen take up defendable positions amongst the farmstead. The nearby war altar of Sigmar ensures that the zealots are kept in a state of perpetual frenzy. On the Empire right, the cavalry brigade begins a sweeping flanking manoeuvre, whilst in the centre light infantry take the nearby woods, whilst cavalry reposition, allowing the artillery brigade to move forwards with a clear line of fire. In Chaos' first turn, the unfortunate mercenary giant is charged on 3 sides by the enemy chariots and hounds. Demon infantry and Chaos heavy cavalry then advance into the centre open ground. On the centre left, the old guard of Chaos Warriors plus 2 Demon infantry brigades begin to advance towards the waiting enemy. Elsewhere, the Chaos Dwarf lines hold firm in their defendable terrain, whilst their artillery takes out a stand of flagellants. In the centre, the demons have positioned their swarm units to be the closest visible target to the enemy artillery. In combat, the giant is brought down by the overwhelming force of the Chaos troops, who then fall back in good order. In turn 2, the Empire left flank sees a bold cavalry advance to threaten the demon chariots. In the centre, a mass of flagellant infantry throws themselves headlong into the demons. This cunning move ties up the demon swarms, allowing the cannon to draw line of sight to the knights. On the Empire right, the Cavalry Brigade continues its advance around the wood, and across the field, wherever possible, Empire infantry units start to infiltrate the defendable terrain. On the left flank, bowmen and halberdiers enter a marsh to protect them from the oncoming chariots, whilst on the right flank only the flagellants are crazy enough to leave their defended position on the hill. The zealots, led by bowmen, infiltrate nearby woodland, but the mass of lowly infantry is simply too large to all take cover behind the trees. In the centre, some more light infantry manage to run straight past the noses of the Chaos Warriors and infiltrate the dense terrain next to the Knights. The Artillery Brigade then lets rip at the Chaos Knights, but the resilient troops suffer no casualties and are merely driven back in confusion. They do, however, collide with some nearby Harpies, confusing them. Empire Wizards manage to curse the Chaos Dwarf Cavalry, weakening their unit. Whilst in combat, the Flagellants make short work of the demons, killing 3 units over 4 rounds. Vellington's army has made a decisive push through the centre of the field. How will Tornapart respond? In their second turn, all the Chaos Cavalry and Chariot units that can see Flagellants declare initiative charges. The Flagellants find themselves caught on 3 sides, but in their frenzied state, they still hurl themselves against the demons. The Artillery Brigade is seen as a problem, so a unit of demon flyers is ordered to charge it headlong. It does not end well for the demons. On the right flank, demon hounds and chariots charge the pistoliers, but suffer heavy losses from stand and shoot and go on to lose the engagement. The Chaos Knights that were driven back by cannon fire last turn form back up with their confused brethren. Whilst on the centre left, the old guard of Chaos Warriors manage to charge into the waiting Flagellants. A lone spawn advances towards the enemy infantry, spitting poison at them and confusing them. In centre right, although the demons are wiped out, the Chaos Knights and Chariots finish off the Flagellants. They then fall back in good order to reform a brigade of sorts. In the centre left, the Chaos Warriors cut down 2.5 units of Flagellants, but suffer heavy casualties in return. The damaged Chaos units then fall back in good order behind their full strength units. On the Chaos Dwarf left flank, the light infantry has advanced to contest the woods. And in the centre, the hounds have been moved forwards to protect the knights from the cannon. In turn 3, the pistoliers on the Empire left begin to mop up the remaining demon hounds and chariots. The reserve cavalry brigade attempts to charge the hounds, but fails the order. The Chaos Knights are safe for another turn from the cannon brigade, whilst elsewhere a spawn finds itself charged in the flank by pistoliers. The remnants of the Flagellant brigade fling themselves at the Chaos Warriors and spawn once again. Unarmoured zealots charge into missile-armed hobgoblins and suffer from the stand and shoot. Empire Knights engage the Bull Centaur cavalry around the farmstead on the right flank. Using the cover of the woods, Empire infantry sneaks behind the demon hordes. The Empire infantry reserve moves into advantageous positions, whilst the spawn is now caught in a pincer movement by some knights. In the shooting phase, the hounds are predictably blown away by the artillery barrage. Whilst in combat, one spawn is killed off by the cavalry charge, whilst the second is killed off by Flagellants. The last few stands of Flagellants then do a headlong advance into the blunderbuss line, which turns them into a fine red mist. Remarkably, the hobgoblins see off the charging zealots, and then fall back in good order. Meanwhile, the Bull Centaurs suffer heavy losses but manage to grind the combat out to a draw, with both sides falling back. In turn 3, the Chaos Harpies fly forwards and take up a flanking position in the marsh beside the Artillery Brigade. The remaining Demon Flyers are then ordered into the rear of the Artillery Brigade, setting up a pincer movement. In the centre left, Demons charge Bugnan's Rangers lurking in the woods, whilst Chaos Warriors assault the hill. On the Chaos left flank, Hobgoblins assault Zealots hiding in the woods, while the Chaos Dwarf heavy infantry march up the hill next to the Chaos Warriors. Unfortunately, the defended Empire troops manage to repulse the assault on the hill and fall back in good order. The final stand of Flagellants is also dispatched, although the Chaos Heavy Infantry Brigade is now looking quite ragged. The Demon Swarms fail to shift Bugman's Rangers out of their wood and fall back. On the left flank, the Hobgoblins successfully evict the Zealots lurking in the wood. A massive plume of dust heralds the arrival of the Ogre mercenaries on the Empire's left flank. This is the deadly Crush'em tribe, led by General Boucher. The Ogre army rushes onto the field, whilst Cavalry Commander Oxbridge leads a charge against the Chaos Chariots. Vellington's Artillery Brigade then splits to draw line of sight to the Flyers, whilst the Reserve Cavalry Brigade manoeuvres to cover their rear. The artillery barrage destroys the Demon Flyers and drives the Harpies all the way back into the Ogre lines. Oxbridge's cavalry charge destroys the Chaos Chariots, but does leave his knights exposed to the Chaos Heavy Cavalry. On the left flank, Zealots and Hobgoblins continue their scrap amongst the woods, while elsewhere on the left little progress is made by either side, although the Bull Centaurs do see off the enemy cavalry. In Chaos Turn 4, the Chaos Cavalry Commander, simply known as Nay due to his love of horses, leads the counter-charge of knights into the enemy cavalry. The Chaos Dwarf Heavy Infantry Brigades swarm over the hill, sweeping all before them, whilst the demons are bogged down fighting Empire troops amongst the dense terrain. In the cavalry battle, the Chaos Knights dispatch the Empire Knights with ease and pursue them, but Demon Chariots fare poorly in their fight against the Giant and end up losing. In turn 5, the Ogres launch their infantry attack, thundering down the hillside like an avalanche. The Empire troops are still unwilling to commit their light infantry against the Demon Brigades in the centre. Meanwhile, the surviving Pistoliers from the Empire left flank begin to hunt down the last unit of Chaos Hounds. As the Ogres swarm towards the Chaos lines, they manage to catch a Demon Chariot in the open. In the centre, Empire Wizards move forward and begin launching their spells at the Chaos lines. On Vellington's right flank, his infantry begins to withdraw, unwilling to assault the farmhouse which is firmly in Chaos Dwarf hands. The Empire Missile Infantry manage to inflict some damage on the demons approaching them and drive them back in confusion. In close combat, the Demon Chariot falls before the Giant and the Ogres. The Ogre units then surge forward towards the Knights, but in doing so overextend. This allows the Knights of Tzeentch to defeat the remaining human cavalry, then turn and advance into the flank of the Giant, bringing it down. With the Giant gone, the Chaos Knights can now manoeuvre into advantageous positions to launch a full-on cavalry charge at the Ogres next turn. Turn 5 sees the Chaos Dwarf infantry on the left, advancing slowly towards the Empire lines once more. Once again in the centre, demons fling themselves at Empire light troops hidden in the woods, whilst Chaos Dwarfs, Chaos Warriors and demons manage to assault the Empire rear lines in centre left. The Chaos Knights under Commander Nay launch a full-on cavalry charge into the Ogres, whilst demons leap out of cover to assault another unit. The demons quickly overwhelm their unit of Ogres and then launch an advance into the rear of the ongoing melee. The result is swift and brutal, and before too long, 4 units of Ogres lie dead. The victorious Chaos units reorder their lines and then eye up their next victims. The Chaos Knights now dominate the open ground, with no fear of the cannon, which are blocked by their own cavalry. Meanwhile, on the Chaos left, the Chaos Infantry easily dominates their Empire counterparts. In turn 6, more Ogres descend from the hills, hoping to catch the demons in the open, but fail the charge. Instead, they wheel forward some looted cannon and take aim at the Chaos Knights. However, Oxbridge, the Imperial Cavalry commander, takes the initiative and charges a unit of knights into the flank of the Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. Around the farmhouse on the Empire far right, the last stand of knights sell their lives dearly against the Bull Centaurs. The Empire Light Infantry continue to reposition amongst defendable terrain awaiting the oncoming Chaos Dwarf horde. However, a continued failure of coherent orders from Vellington himself stymies the progress of the Imperial infantry. Surviving stands take cover where they can between the Chaos units. The final stand of Harpies is blown away by the Ogre artillery. A voice of command spell from a nearby Empire wizard sends a second cavalry unit thundering into the flank of the Chaos Knights of Slaanesh. They are joined by Oxbridge himself. Whilst another voice of command spell from a warrior priest sends the surviving Pistoliers into the Chaos Hounds. The Hounds are trapped by tricksy halfling bowmen sneaking into their rear and destroyed. The victorious halflings take up positions on the hill and light their pipes to watch the ensuing cavalry engagement. One unit of Empire Knights is joined by a Griffin Rider and quickly dispatches the Knights of Tzeentch. Meanwhile, Oxbridge's cavalry manage to beat the Knights of Slaanesh and drive them back, but can't finish them off. Have they done enough? In turn 6, a unit of demons recklessly charges headlong into the Ogres. The Knights of Khorne decide upon some easy prey and charge into the Pistoliers on the hill. In the magic phase they are granted 7 additional attacks by the Frenzy of Chaos. On the Chaos left, a sole surviving Empire infantry stand is sandwiched between 2 Chaos heavy infantry units. Elsewhere, the remains of the Demon infantry brigades reorder themselves to await the inevitable countercharge from Empire cavalry. In combat, the demons kill off a stand of ogres before they lose 2 of their own, and are forced to retreat. The Chaos Knights easily kill off the Pistoliers, but when they advance into the halflings, despite their additional attacks, they are repulsed. In turn 7, Boucher's Crush'em Ogres finish off the remaining demon units in front of them. Decisive action on the Empire right sees a Chaos Dwarf artillery piece destroyed. Meanwhile, the Empire Cavalry Reserve charges into the demon infantry, and ogres assault other demons in the marsh. The result is very one-sided, with the demon units being destroyed. This brings the Chaos Force to its breakpoint, and Tornapart's army is forced to withdraw. Although the Chaos Dwarf left flank remains strong, having possession of all the farmhouses, this was only one part of the battlefield. The game was won or lost by the cavalry clash in the centre. The power of the Chaos Knights was kept in check by the Empire artillery, compounded by the failure of the Chaos Flyers to take out the Empire cannon. The Chaos Knights struggled to make an impact this game until some over-ambitious ogres presented them with an easy target. Meanwhile, the Chaos Dwarf cavalry excelled themselves, with the Bull Centaurs plus a terror-causing character holding off wave after wave of Empire Knights. The Chaos army could have claimed a quick victory if they'd have smashed into the Empire lines in turn 2, way before the ogres took to the field. But in a repeat of history, it was the timely arrival of the Allied force which swung the battle firmly in Vellington's favour. Although by the end of the game the Imperials and Ogres were only 2 units from breaking themselves, the damage to the Chaos forces was already too great, especially to the Demon army. So to Vellington goes the well-deserved victory, whilst Tornapart slinks off to plot his revenge.